Hey, I'm John Cannell, and today on Preppy Kitchen, we're making a delicious chocolate peppermint bark cake from my book. So let's get started. First off, set your oven to 350. It needs to be nice and hot, and I'm gonna be blooming my cocoa powder in some hot coffee right now. 1 cup of hot coffee into a large bowl. Now I need 3/4 of a cup or 60 grams of Dutch processed cocoa powder. This is super dark. It's gonna give you a really fudgy, delicious cake. If you're making this, you don't want to use coffee, you could just use hot water for this. It'll just be a little bit less chocolatey. Okay, we're gonna stir this together and set it aside for a few minutes just to let that cocoa powder get all of the chocolate flavor out. Now, in another large bowl, we're gonna sift together the flour, sugar, and leavening agents. 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour, that is 300 grams. This is very full. This cake, by the way, is from the winter chapter of my book, of course, and it's really a celebration of all those amazing holiday flavors that we love. I also want 1.5 cups of sugar. That is also 300 grams. How convenient. 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda and 2.5 teaspoons of baking powder. This cake is gonna be so soft, and part of that is having a really airy texture inside. So we need a good amount of leavening agent. We're gonna sift this out. Any lumps of sugar or flour are gonna be really bad for your cake. You don't wanna bite into the cake and have a lump of flour or a lump of sugar or anything. So sifting is a good way to get rid of that. Grab a whisk. We're done with our scale for now. I'm gonna give this a nice whisk and also add in the salt. 1 teaspoon of kosher salt. Those kosher crystals are a little bit too large to fit through many sifters, so it's whisked in at the end. Okay, this is done. We're gonna go back to our cocoa mixture right now. All the wet stuff's gonna go in here, starting with 1/2 cup of sour cream. That's 110 grams if you don't wanna use a measuring cup. I also want 1/2 cup or 120 mils of whole milk. And don't forget, 1/2 cup or 110 grams of brown sugar. This cake does not use butter. It uses vegetable oil. I love butter, it's amazing, but the flavor would get lost in a chocolate cake. And the nice thing about using oil for this cake is it can be in the fridge, come right out and be soft as silk. There's no hard cake situation happening, which is a problem with butter-based cakes that you put in the fridge. So for this luscious cake, I want 3/4 of a cup or 180 mils of veggie oil. This gets added in here, and I also need 4 eggs. Just crack them one at a time into your measuring cup. You can make sure there's no broken shells in there. That'd be the least pleasing texture ever. My last egg is going in, and all I need is 1 tablespoon of vanilla. It's gonna add a wonderful depth of flavor to this cake. Whisk this up until it's nice and smooth. I actually have my mixer out. I don't need it yet. I'll use it for the frosting. This is gonna be a stir together cake, which is really lovely. It's wonderful to make this kind of cake with little ones in the house because you don't have to worry about fingers getting caught or changing speeds or anything. You just have to worry about mixing this together nice and smooth. This smells so good and intensely chocolate flavored. Super smooth, nice and homogeneous. Before I combine the wet and the dry, let's prep our pans. I want 3 8-inch pans, a little bit of baking spray. Also gonna pull out some baking strips. These have been soaking for a little bit. Just wring the excess out and wrap them around your pans. These will give you a wonderful even bake and a soft, really tender crumb on the very edge of your cake as well. Pour the wet into the dry. Oh gosh, that's nice. Whisk this together until it's almost combined. Oh my gosh. So this cake has like a luscious, just melt in your mouth, fudgy chocolate consistency. It's all smothered in a peppermint buttercream topped with a chocolate ganache and beautiful little shards of peppermint bark on the top. It'll look really nice and it's so easy to do too. So it looks like it's mostly mixed in. There is gonna be some flour hiding on the bottom. So always really scrape the bottom with your whisk. And you don't want to overmix the batter and go really fast. Just find those hidden nuggets and work them in. There we go. Evenly distribute the batter. You can eyeball it or use a scale for exact measurements. think I poured way too much into the first pan, but that's okay. Get all that batter out, don't waste. It's honestly fine if one layer is a little bit thicker. That's your bottom layer because it has the most weight on top. It usually gets compressed down a little bit more, just in case. These guys are ready to go into the oven, 350 for 30 to 35 minutes or until the skewer inserted in the middle comes out clean. In you go. While our cakes are baking, we're gonna make some peppermint bark. You could buy this if you want, but making it is really fun and so easy. The recipe actually calls for 4 bars of white and 4 bars of dark. I'm gonna use 3 bars each because I'm just gonna use this for the finials. It's nice to have more for serving and for parties and everything else. It lasts a while in the fridge too. You might also see that I have 2 inches of water coming to a simmer in the background. We're gonna use a double boiler to melt the chocolate, and it's a really nice way to give me a smooth, low heat. It's just the steam that'll heat the chocolate up. This is gonna go into a bowl that fits nicely over my pot like that. But I'm actually going to melt the dark chocolate first. I'm chopping the white chocolate because if a little white chocolate gets in my dark chocolate, no one's gonna notice. But if I had some dark chocolate and a white chocolate, you'd see it. One done and 1 to go. Oh, started chopping already. The dark chocolate is a lot harder than the white chocolate. It has much more snap to it, so chop, chop, chop. Okay, this is gonna go over a low simmer. You can see this starts melting right away. Just stir occasionally and let that heat do its thing. Ooh, look how silky that's looking already. Once your chocolate is smooth and melted, we're gonna pour this out onto a sheet of parchment paper. I have this on a baking sheet, but it could just be on your countertop, to be honest. Now we're gonna spread the chocolate out to be about 1/4 to 1/8 of an inch thick. It's kind of up to you. And while we do that, let's get our white chocolate onto the pot and we'll start stirring that in a moment. If this chocolate sets completely before you add the white chocolate on, you'll snap your bark and it'll separate. If you add the white chocolate on when this is too melty, it'll mix together and you won't have those defined lines. So you want the chocolate to be partially set, meaning the bottom is getting hard, the top is just a little bit wet still, and that way it'll form like a glue or bond to hold the white chocolate on. This looks good. Now with a new spatula, stir your white chocolate and this will melt very quickly, and white chocolate is notoriously fickle, so I wouldn't recommend microwaving it. Low heat here, and if you have any thought like, oh my gosh, is this getting too hot? Just take the bowl off heat for a second while you stir. Unlike the dark chocolate, I would melt the white until it is almost all melted. You'll see a couple little bits of white chocolate here and there, but that'll finish melting with residual heat. This looks really nice. I'm taking it off heat and setting it aside for just a moment because my chocolate isn't semi-set yet. Once it's semi-set, the edge will be just a little bit more matte. So set that aside, and we have to crush some candy cane pieces. I like my peppermint pieces to be nice and big, so I'm gonna gently crush them just in a sheet of paper. Tap, tap, tap. A lot of strategic tapping there. But it's a cake, we're decorating it, we want it to look pretty. Take a look at this. If I tap it very gently with my finger, I make a little spire of chocolate. It's coming up, it's melty, but not super slack. Now the fun part, add the white chocolate onto the dark and then smooth it out. The white chocolate is hot, it's gonna melt that chocolate, so be really gentle when you spread it out. I'm gonna stop here. I'll have a border of chocolate I can snack on later, but my pretty white chocolate part is fairly undisturbed. Sprinkle your crushed peppermint pieces all over the top, and if you have any dark chocolate sticking out, add a piece of peppermint on top. No one will know. That looks so pretty, so clearly I'm gonna be using the part with the white chocolate on top. For snacking purposes though, just add a little bit of that crushed peppermint. I don't like using the tiny pieces on the cake, so separate that out, and that'll be a really nice little snacking treat. This can get set aside until it's fully firm. You could even pop it in the fridge if you want. And if you wanted to, this could have been made a day ahead as well. Our cake layers are out of the oven. They're starting to cool, which means it's time to make some delicious peppermint frosting. Now, in the bowl of our stand mixer, fitted with a paddle attachment, I'm adding 3 sticks or a cup and a half of unsalted room temperature butter. So if you want to use salted butter, you can. You would just use like what? I think you'd add a 1/4 teaspoon of salt instead of the 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt we're going to add with the unsalted butter. Salt, I'm using 3/4 of a teaspoon. Cream this up until it is nice and smooth. This is nice and smooth. I'm going to add in 3 teaspoons of vanilla. Let that combine. And now you might notice I have some powdered sugar here. This is just under 8 cups. It's 2 1/4 pounds of powdered sugar. That is like 1 kilogram and change. This will give us some sweetness, of course. It'll also give our buttercream some structure. So you can add less to taste if desired. And if you're not a fan of American buttercream, you can make my Swiss meringue buttercream, add the same amount of vanilla and the same amount of peppermint, and it'll be like a very creamy light frosting. Okay, mix on low. I will say you're gonna be scraping the bowl down occasionally, and we also have some cream to add in as well. Continue adding the sugar in. Just do it in batches so it doesn't explode in your face. I don't know if my mic is picking it up, but there is a storm outside, so you might hear the pitter-patter of rain here and there. Just in case you're wondering what that sound is. Okay. This is nice and incorporated. I'm adding in 1/3 cup plus 2 tablespoons of heavy cream. Okay. The cream is really gonna give it some slack and a nice smooth creaminess, of course. While this mixes, and I increase the speed to medium by the way, I'm gonna add in 1 1/4 teaspoons of peppermint extract. This stuff is very powerful, so I'm not eyeballing it today. That already smells like the holidays. It's so good. Scrape the bowl down one last time, and then we're gonna keep beating on medium for about 3 minutes until our mixture is creamy, fluffy, smooth, and amazing. So the bottom was not nice and fluffy. You always have to scrape. 3 minutes on medium. Look at this. It's like a peppermint vanilla cloud. Get a cake stand out. We're gonna assemble our cake and then decorate it. I want about 3/4 cup of frosting in between each layer. I love seeing the black and the white with the candy cane. It's so pretty. Now, I'm gonna sprinkle with a little bit of this crushed candy cane. It'll give you a tiny bit of crunch, a little shock of peppermint, and it'll be nice and subtle. And you can add more or less to taste based on your preferences. Add the next layer on. And we're gonna top this with some more of this delicious peppermint buttercream. Smooth it out and repeat the process, including adding some more crushed peppermint. Finding the bigger pieces and saving them for the skirt. That's for the skirt, this is for the inside. Final layer goes on top. I am restraining myself from taking a big bite out of the cake because it smells so good. Add that frosting on top. Wait, does this cake seem different? We all make mistakes, and today mine was using 9-inch cake pans instead of 8-inch cake pans, so the layers are a little bit thinner and the cake is a little bit shorter, but it's still just as delicious and it works for both. It's gonna be a little taller with those 8-inch pans though. I'm gonna smooth this out, work it down the sides, and I have a little bit left over in my bowl just to catch any bits that aren't covered. Look at that jiggle, jiggle, jiggle. Ooh. You don't have to worry much about the top at all because it'll completely be covered in ganache. It just has to be smooth-ish and level. So let gravity help you do that work and get the frosting to the bottom of your cake. I want this to be really nice, so I'm breaking up my little turntable. Makes it so easy. Now we're just going to smooth the top. Remembering, I'm just mostly concerned about it being level. Now we're gonna smooth the side. I'm using a bench scraper. Look at that, easy peasy, peppermint squeezy. Now we're adding crushed candy cane pieces to the bottom third of our cake. This will give it some visual interest. And like I said earlier, you want to reserve those bigger pieces for this part. I'm just adding the last few pieces of candy cane onto my cake. I'm gonna pop this into the fridge, make a really quick ganache, top it off, break our peppermint bark, and then give it a taste. I'm chopping some more chocolate and adding that to some cream I've warmed until it's nice and steamy. Set aside for a few minutes, then stir together until silky smooth. This goes right onto your cake. Use a spatula and level that out. Get it to the edge before you make any rash decisions. That's the back of the cake. We're going to gently suggest the chocolate falls down. Very gently, not like I did earlier. This is what happened, by the way, in case you're wondering, I'm gonna fix it. But look, this side looks nice. Gently say, hey, chocolate, why don't you go over this way? I chilled my peppermint bark in the fridge for a bit. Let's see how it snaps. It's not tempered, so it won't like have a wonderful crisp snap, but sometimes you luck out. That's not so bad. I'm gonna give it a cut though. And now for a final flourish, just arrange your peppermint bark right on the top of your cake. You can remove the pieces when you serve, but it gives you a beautiful presentation and it tastes great too. Give it a cut and you're ready to enjoy. That cake dissolves into a chocolate dream. The buttercream has just the right kiss of peppermint, and that chocolate ganache on top is everything. I hope you get a chance to make this recipe, and if you like this video, check out my book playlist, and don't forget to get a copy of the book if you don't already have it.